Why competing don't look right?
Huh?
Competing looks weird.
That doesn't look right. How do you spell competing? Competing?
Is it two T's?
I don't think it's two T's, babe.
It's competing. That's right. Competing.
It don't look right.
Competing. This looks weird.
It looks weird. Anybody ever see a word spelled weird and you thought to yourself, "Hey man, this looks weird"? I've had that happen. Have you ever had that happen?
It's not a competition.
We're not competing. I just was.
I can spell better than you can spell.
See. Yeah, and for those of you guys who are just tuning in, welcome. This is Behind Closed Doors. We'll be back right after this. What? Why you sissing?
Brixuses.
We'll
be back.
Stay tuned, guys. We'd like to welcome you guys back. Super excited to be back for another edition of Behind Closed Doors with the
Brixuses.
Yeah. So, Sheri, talk to us a little bit about what we're going to be dealing with. If I can get my buttons pushed right. Talk to us a little bit about what we're going to be talking about on this episode, because I think that based on really the last conversation I just had with a couple who we're going to be coaching really soon. They did a discovery call with us, and these kinds of things are the things that people don't talk about in their relationship on the front end, and as a result, boy, just to jam them up on the back end.
Particularly to couples who are in business together, or one is an entrepreneur or a business owner and the other isn't. There's a few challenges that couples face when they're in business. And you know what, we're going to expand this. It does apply to those who are career minded as well, because there can be competition oftentimes between spouses on who's going to be more successful than the other, or who's going to win. And we want to caution you, as the title of today's episode is Stop Competing and Start Winning. And we're going to talk about how you can unlock the secrets of building a business with your spouse, or building a true partnership with your spouse. Probably would have been a better title, because we're going to talk about how you guys, even though you may have different goals, different things that you're aiming towards, it's not a competition. You're in this together. This should be a win-win for both of you. And so we're going to talk today about some reasons why it's important not to compete, and then also give you guys some strategies on how to not do that.
So let's set it up. We got a couple of things. Number one, we're going to talk about just this idea of teamwork. So when you have teams, and Sheri, I want to kind of frame it this way. Anybody who's played any team sports, you'll understand this analogy. There is always room for healthy competition. But the minute the competition becomes divisive, what happens is that competition can turn into catastrophe really fast. And so in the confines of a relationship, we want you guys to push each other. We want you guys to hold each other accountable. We want you guys, there are things that Sheri will do, and the competitor in me says, well, she ain't leaving me on that. For example, if she start eating healthy one week and she's really not said a lot about what her plan is. I just noticed that she passed on this, or she didn't have that. And I'm like, wait a minute, what's going on? The healthy competitor in me says, I'm not trying to have you leave me, but because you ain't about to be looking all cute in these streets and your man over here looking sloppy. But that's the healthy part of competition. But the unhealthy part is when all of a sudden you got to one-up each other on a regular basis.
Right. And so you need to be able to develop a strong team partnership between you and your spouse, where you're both, even though you, like I said, you're maybe going in different directions, but you're supporting one another in the sense that this is a combined effort. This is a team. It doesn't mean you have to physically be involved in what your spouse is doing, but there's a sense of synergy. There's a sense of teamwork where you guys bounce off each other, where you kind of balance each other in what it is that you're doing, and you're not competing. It's not like if you do, it's not that whole, I got to one up you. that is not going to help you to have an effective relationship. Another benefit of being able to, to stop competing and start winning is it helps to build trust and communication in your relationship. When I don't feel like I'm in competition with my spouse, I feel more open to share things with you. I can trust you with my dreams. I can trust you with even taking on particular tasks, because it's not a competition. It's not like if I ask you to do something, you're going to come back and be like, ooh, I did this better than you. So I can trust you, and it improves our communication. And then it also improves our efficiency. It gives us the ability to, if we're working on something together, we can get it done a whole lot quicker.
And we find this often when we're coaching people. The idea of one-upping you comes from, I believe, a level of insecurity that doesn't belong in a relationship. Mm-hmm. When you find that you're in a relationship and the need for you to outperform your spouse begins to creep into the space of y'all's relationship, that's a clear indication that there's a tremendous amount of insecurity in the room. Sheri is not my competitor. Mm-hmm. She's my partner. And together we either win or we lose. And so when you're talking about this teamwork piece, that galvanizes us. The fact that we don't look at each other, and maybe this works, and we can talk about this in the co-writing space. Mm-hmm. There are several books that you and I have written that we co-wrote together. Yeah. This was not about us competing on who was going to have the last say. This was not about us trying to shine the other. It was about offering different perspectives. Babe, can you talk a little bit about that benefit when you guys come together and you begin to complement each other as opposed to compete with one another?
Right, and I think you used a great word. There's a benefit to that, because there's a piece that I bring, there's a piece that you bring. And so it brings two perspectives together. So when you guys can partner together on a project, or partner together even just in your household, each of you have your own strengths and weaknesses. And so I'm going to benefit from the areas that you're strong in, just like you're going to benefit from the areas that I'm strongest in. So if we come together as a true partnership, it's not about me doing better than you in a certain area. If I do good, we do good. If you do good, we do good. And I think that that's one mindset that has got to change in relationships, is that, it's not about, well, I did this. You have to have a we mentality. You have to think about, this is about us. This is not about me as an individual in anything in my relationship. Whatever I do, whatever I strive to do, it's going to be beneficial not only for me, but also for we.
Let's talk about some secrets. Let's talk about some things that people wouldn't know, that when you really delve into this work, it begins to work for you.
So a few things that you can do to help to improve or enhance your partnership in your relationship is engage in a new hobby or learning experience together. This is something that we've done over the course of our marriage the past 25 years, is that we always try to do something new. We discover new things together, and that helps keep things fresh, not only in our relationship, but even in our business. When we have new projects or new things that we're delving into in the business, we'll do it together. Like with you with your drone, I'll use that. So you got the drone, and that's a new hobby of his, but we share in that, like, cause I help edit the videos. I help him with, the sites, picking what the sites are. So we do that together. So it's something we do, it's for the business, but it's also a way for us to get outside of the office, outside of the norm, and do something different together. Although, a typical day for us, he may be here in the office, I'm outside in my office. We're not working side by side all the time, but there are activities that we do that will bring us together so that we can interact together.
Yeah, I think that if you can focus on creating things that you both like and that you have mutual interests around, obviously Sheri and I are storytellers, and we both have mutual interests as co-writers. Many of our books we wrote together. I think about some of the projects that we have done. Those books require that both of us bring a part of us to the table and offer it to the other one. Mm-hmm. And so it became more of a synergy kind of a thing. If I have a thought and I want to expand on that thought, I may share it from my perspective, but then I want to hear what your perspective is so that we then can begin to work together. And so when it comes to even flying, my drone, yeah, I got this thing as a hobby and it's something for me to do. But the ultimate goal is that it would add value to our business. And how do we do that? By telling stories from a different viewpoint, from a different perspective. still talking about the same content, but now we're adding an element to it. But because of your technical savvy, there are things that you can help me figure out that winds up making us work together. And because of that, there's a synergy that we build.
Right. And speaking of that synergy, it heightens my creativity, because I'm an extremely creative person, but I create differently than you do. And so you may say something or show me something and it sparks something, then I go in the lab and I'm gone. But if we don't have those interactions, it's not going to spark that. And the same for you.
Another thing that I want to talk a little bit about is this idea, and you and I, we do this often.
So we typically will take a weekend and either go away, go stay in a hotel, or we'll unplug from everything. And then we will sit and vision cast about where we are. We'll talk about where we are in the business, where things are, how things are going, and where do we want to see things in the future. And so we sit, like Glenn said, we do it. We started out doing it annually, but now it's become pretty much quarterly, where we sit down and we, share, we review where we are. Even in family, with our family, we did that with the family. When the kids were still at home, we would sit down and talk about, what's the direction the family is going in. But particularly in business, to sit down and actually map out, put it on paper, write down, these are what we want to see for the next 3 months, or by the end of the year, these are our goals we want to accomplish, and what have we accomplished so far. And I think that that's a way for you to connect with one another. It's a way to keep the lines of communication open, especially when you're working together with your spouse. It's a way to check in.
One of the things that these future casting events did for us was create the idea of, let's reword some of what we're talking about so that we don't create a certain pressure on ourselves that quite frankly becomes an obstacle. So for example, Sheri and I got to the place where we talked less about goal setting and more about a target that we wanted to hit. Both of us have military backgrounds, Marine, Army. Here's the deal. We understand what it looks like to have to lock in on a moving target. And that's a very different skill set, particularly in business, where nothing really stays the same very long, right? Like you'll get something going. Maybe it's a system you've built. Maybe it's a product, something, service you launch or whatever. But life happens and things begin to unfold in a way. And the thing is no longer what it was. Well, if you're not highly adaptable, if you're not a person that can adjust to a moving target, you often will miss that target. And here's what I know about goals. When you don't hit them, we got a way of punishing ourselves, and especially when you're driven. And now we're discounting the value of even setting a goal.
Right. And so for couples that are in business, whether you're an entrepreneur, whether you own a brick and mortar, whether, you just run your own business, you have to remember you are the CEO and the COO. You are the C-suite of your company. And so just like any other corporation, they have quarterly meetings. They have annual meetings with their board members. They sit down, they strategize for the year. You cannot run a business successfully without getting with your partners and sitting down and strategizing for what your goals are for that year and how you're going to do it. It's not just putting a bunch of ideas and throwing them up on a board, but actually coming up with strategy. How are we going to accomplish this? What are the things that we need? Let's create a budget. These are times for you to do all those things. And if you do that consistently, like I said, it opens up the lines of communication, but it keeps you both on the same page. So somebody's not off. They came up with an idea in the middle of the quarter when y'all didn't meet, and they just have gone off and started on another project. Okay, great, but did we finish these projects? What's the status of these? And so it helps hold each other accountable as well when you have these regular meetings.
Real quick before we move on to the next one thing I will say, particularly for my high D, my high I, if you've ever taken the DISC personality assessment, this you'll discover. As an extrovert, you often will find yourself not completing tasks and always starting new ones, right? One of the things I love about our future cast events that help me, and it's to hold me accountable to see through to the end what I set out to accomplish. And there's something magical that happens when you complete something. Even if it did not hit the target, you went through the entire drill of start, maintaining, grow, finish strong, debrief, figure out. Like, that's a regimen and a process that I've built over the years that quite frankly is contrary to my temperament, Sheri. And I think that when you came along in my life, it brought I was in a place where I was willing to welcome it, number one. But number two, it just brought a sense of boundaries and a sense of, okay, foundation. Here's the last thing. And it also made me willing to slow down.
I'm gonna just pause on that one.
Pregnant pause on purpose.
Yeah, because especially for my extroverts, you will just go, go, go. You're never short on ideas. You're never short on things to do, but completing them, slowing down to actually complete it, because it's like they just keep coming, and you be like, you'll start this, and then something else come. Ooh, let's start this. Ooh, okay, let's start this, and yeah, and it'll drive us introverts crazy because it's like, dude, can you just stay focused long enough to just complete this? And so this has helped save us a lot of those conversations where I'm not like, can you just stop so we can complete this? It gives you a sense of accountability, and we say stop competing, and I'm gonna. There is, and Glenn touched on it a little bit. There is some healthy competition with your spouse,
For sure.
and I think that you want to be not to one up each other, but you want to do what it is you said you wanted to do. You said you were going to do, and so if I know that I got more checks on my side because I'm doing, but I'm not necessarily comparing it against your checks, but if you give me something to do, I'm competing against myself, I think, more than I'm competing against you.
Let me say it this way, and I like how you put that, because I think, and we talked about this a little bit before, the challenge is that we've let our insecurities and our ego in the room with the competition. And so now it's not about me becoming better. It's about me beating you. I'm going to say it again. If you're not careful and you don't approach competition in a healthy way, it becomes about me not getting better, but me beating you. And I understand that there is a part where you do want to win, but this is the part where I want to kind of switch gears. And we talk about this. What we're talking about today is about stop competing and start winning. When you stop competing against your teammates, by default, you will win. Let me help you. Because now if I'm competing against my spouse, she's not my enemy. So therefore, I'm taking my eyes off of what is the goal, or what is the game, or what is the end result, right? I'm taking my mind off of what's most important, and all I'm focusing on is beating you.
If you stay focused on the game and not on your partner, not on the people you're playing with, you'll always win. So I'm competing to win this game. I'm not competing against you. And so even for couples that, we work with several couples that they have separate businesses. They're not working a business together, but they still have to use these same tools. They have to have their future cast meetings where they sit down. These are my goals for my business. These are the goals for my business. How do these line up? Because you got to remember, you're still a couple. You're still married, and so you have to make sure that things line up. So if he has his own business and he has a certain strategy that he's working his business, but it's going to overlap family time or overlap vacations, or it's going to prevent him from being able to be present for graduations for the kids or recitals or things. This is why you have these meetings. It's not just all about the business. It's about how it impacts the family as well. If it's things that are going to take you outside of the home, if it's going to take you away from your family, you still need to have these conversations so that you can make sure that you guys are on the same page. And the last one is establish a no business zone.
Right here, where we're talking about establishing a no business zone, this is a direct response to what Sheri just said, and that is this. When you establish these kinds of zones or boundaries, if you will, where we don't talk about certain things during this time, then what you do is you cultivate the opportunity to hear one another's hearts. Most couples move so fast that they never get really in touch with the heart of their spouse or their significant other. What you stay in touch with generally is their behaviors, their patterns, how they're moving, so you can pay attention to what they do. What's harder to do is to pay attention to how they feel. How are they thinking? What do they want to accomplish? How are they dreaming? And to me, Sheri, that is the difference between striving to thriving. Like you go from maintaining to obtaining and soaring through the next. You got to create those spaces of safety.
Right. And I think it's key because especially when you are entrepreneurs, you can find yourself talking about business 24 hours a day. And you have to create some boundaries, and that's where this no business zone comes in. There are certain rooms that, like our bedroom, we don't talk about business in the bed. We ain't talking about business. I don't want to hear about no client. We're not talking about that there. Whether it's you establish, the dinner table, we're not going to talk about business. Whatever it is, if it's a certain day of the week, a certain time, whatever. But you have to have a safe space allocated where you guys can just be you, where you're not now the CEO, you're not the CFO, you're not the business owner, you're not whatever, you're not in that business mindset. You get to truly disconnect. And see, that's the difference than a person that works a normal 9 to 5. When they leave the job, they get to leave the job there. When you're a business owner or entrepreneur, your job oftentimes is at home. You're doing a lot of it from home. So you have to create some type of boundary, some off-limit space where, hey, there's a cutoff. And then another part I'll add to that, the no business zone, is having set business hours for my entrepreneurs particularly. Make sure you have set business hours. Make sure you establish a time. My day for work ends at such and such time every day, and you honor that so that your family understands that, and they know when this time, if it's 6 p.m., after 6 p.m., I'm coming out my office and I'm on family time. That's going to save your marriage. It's going to save your relationship with your kids. Believe me.
All day. Listen, we had to learn this the hard way, y'all. Sheri and I did not get this right for many years, and I had no boundaries when it came to that. Now I'm grateful that we have, and I'll just let the cat out the bag. Saturday mornings is our time to dream. It's our time to be creative and to spend time with each other. Date nights is another zone that we've identified that we're not there to talk about business. Trust me, as many clients as we work with, we don't talk about y'all on date night. We just don't. And the reason why is because we have to have and protect us, and the way we do it is established times. Next week when we get together, hopefully if everything works out, there's a couple of couples that we've been lining up to try and get on a call, so that you guys can get a chance to peer into other couples who are building marriages and businesses, and they're not losing at either one. And I'm telling you right now, it's going to be a situation. We want y'all to stay tuned. We're going to get ready to get out of here for today. At the end of the day, here's what we know to be true. You can't get to any place of significance by yourself, and the reason why?
Because we all need some help.
Y'all be good. We'll catch you on the next episode of Behind Closed Doors.
Bye, guys.